So I've noticed in a lot of different OpenGL tutorials, the Visual Studio is often, if not always, used. So the downsides to that is that really Visual Studio, the program, and not Visual Studio Code, of course, it's not cross-compatible. It mainly, the download, if you go to the site, you'll see that it's only Windows, the operating system. Of course, you can make it work with an emulator or not an emulator like Wine for Mac and potentially Linux, but it's still not very, direct, right? So that's one downside. The other one is that really the way to link libraries is a little bit involved in having to go through that GUI, which is really, in my opinion, a little bit unnecessary. I don't have anything really against Microsoft, but I think that things can be simpler. So I'll show you a method here, which just uses command lines, the command line, and Visual Studio Code, which I believe is the only thing you may need really to run these things. So this resource that you see here is actually quite a valuable one. This website, it's a really good resource for learning OpenGL, so I highly recommend it. Now, however, they also use Visual Studio, so we will not need to go through these because I'm basically going to show you how to set up the environment. However, we will basically start with hello window. Now you'll see that in the first two lines here, they include, these are libraries which are needed to run the OpenGL program, GLAD and GLFW. These are libraries that you need to install and download yourself, and then of course include them to your include path for C++ files. So that's usually what you need to do is just Google GLAD OpenGL, and then you also Google, what is it? Oh, sorry. Yeah, you Google GLAD OpenGL, right? And then you can also Google GLFW. And here's the process. Is just, this would be the site. Just download the required material. I recommend that you go to version 4.6 and then generate, download it, unzip it, and do the same for GLFW. Download, unzip it, right? And then after you've done that, it should be in your downloads folder probably. So then you just change the directory to downloads. You copy, let's say it's GLFW or GLFW that you downloaded, and you copy them the stuff to user include and your GLFW folder. If you don't have a GLFW folder within the include directory, then just create it, of course, right? So user include. So you can just create it by make directory GLFW, and the same for GLAD, right? So make directory GLAD. And of course, you may need to add the sudo prefix. Okay, so I've already created those, so you'll see that it's GLAD, and it has the material, which mainly the emphasis is on the .c and .h extension for GLAD, and then for GLFW, I have GLFW and .h extensions. Okay, so I mentioned that because these are basically the libraries that you need to use to run this first application, and actually to a lot of applications, a lot of OpenGL applications within this tutorial. So we'll actually go to those. So after you've done that, you can see that if you go to the left click on the little cat on the previous website, there's a whole repository for all the tutorials there that are in this website. Right, so just control left click there. You can clone the whole repository to your computer, and by just typing git clone and then followed, of course, with pasting that address. I've already done that, so I will not clone it again. I will just change directory. That's not it. To the clone repository. Okay. And all the tutorial material really is within the source directory in that repository. So you can just go there and then open Visual Studio Code inside that folder. And as I mentioned, those are the two libraries. There are two libraries that are included there, the GLAD and the GLFW. So after you've gone through that process of including it on your computer, you are already halfway there to be able to run these applications. You can see that a lot of these examples are using just those two libraries for OpenGL. Okay, so we'll of course just start with hello window here, and the next step of course would be to compile this and to run it, as it's typically the case for a lot of C++ applications. We would need to specify flags to run a specific program that has been made. So for that, I've created this resource which you can download. And so downloading is just like, going get cloning, right? And you clone it wherever you would like in your computer. So I've already done that, but yeah, as I mentioned, git clone, just type git clone and the copied address, and then change directory to that. And I will be opening this clone repository, Clang, in Visual Studio Code as well to show you the code. Now, what we will be using for OpenGL would be the second script, right? The klangle.shell script, which is this one that you see here. Now, you'll see that there are some lines that have been deactivated. The line that is currently activated is the one that uses the GLAD and GLFW libraries. You can see we are including our glad.c extension and all the necessary resources as well, GLFW, to run the program. There is also another example which uses GLUT library, which I'll show you as well. And so we can just uncomment this one, comment out this one, and comment in this one. But for now, we'll just do this one. Okay. So after you've gone through that process, now you are actually able to run all these tutorials. So we can go back to our our tutorial environment, and we'll just go to the first example. The first example is within the getting started directory. You'll see that there's a lot of exercises there, right? So we'll go to the first section of that subsection. Okay, hello window, right? And for hello window, you can see that there's only one file there. It's hello window.cpp. So we'll compile it by by using the klangle shell file. And now, of course, I forgot to mention, but it's recommended that you actually globalize klangle and klang, and you can do so by following the instructions here on the repository. The setup, how to make them executable, and then calling them from anywhere by modifying your bash source file, right, in this way. So I've added aliases for klangle.h to just be called as klangle from anywhere in your computer, so for Clang. And so just the usage is very simple. Okay, so after you've done that, right, something that I forgot to mention, I'm just going to call it globally because I've already done that setup in my computer. So the process is actually, you'll be surprised. So we are already in the hello 1.1 hello window folder. So we just need to type klangle GL for OpenGL. That's why I added klangle. It just sounds nicer. and then the file that is there, hello.window, hello window.cpp. Okay, and that's it. So you can see that it generated an executable or a compiled file. So let's open it. Let's do that. So we just open it by just typing hello window.k, and .k is an extension I just made up. You know, the extension name really doesn't matter, but I'm standardizing it with .k for my klangle application. Okay, so you can just open it this way, and that's actually what you get for the first lesson of the tutorial. Is just an empty window, and that's what they say actually in their tutorial. So you can just follow it really nicely and go through the instructions and really understand the material really well. This is actually, as I mentioned, I think in my opinion, it's just a very good resource. Second example, it's hello triangle. Right. So we can just go one directory upwards and then to 1.2, I believe. Oh, it's actually the second example is hello window clear, but that's not gonna look too exciting per se. So let's actually just instead of hello window, let's go to hello triangle, which is section 2 here. Okay, so we change directory to hello triangle, and once again klangle, and oops, and the cpp file in there, which is the only file in that folder, hello triangle. Okay, and we open it. How do we open it? / and hello triangle, which is the file that has been compiled, and you get the triangle. And we can repeat that process, of course, for all the others. We can get let's actually move to the hello triangle exercise 1. We klangle it. Okay, we open it. It's 2 triangles and so on and so forth. We can go to the exercise 3. Let's skip to the 2 exercises. Yeah, hello triangle. Yeah, okay. We klangle it, but you get the point basically that it's actually just a pretty straightforward operation. Okay, and that's basically how we would can run these applications without really using Visual Studio. It made it simple really because you can just have this declaration and just run the same thing over and over again with a shell file. And of course, if you need to change the flags, you can always add your own flag extensions and just if it's, let's say we're using GLUT library, you can just run this one. And if you're using other libraries or in combination, you need to add different flags to that as well. There's good documentation on the internet for you to do that in a very simple way. So we'll just be running an exercise from another site, okay, that uses a GLUT library. So it is an exercise from this website, this Geeks for Geeks website, and it's a program to draw, just a little house using C++. Okay, so you can just copy the code here. You'll see that it's using GLUT. Now there are some things here. It seems that this exercise has been implemented in Windows. That's why you have some things that you may need to change for Linux operating system, like this backslash. It needs to be changed to /. And you also need to create download the GL library as well for this. So you can just go through the internet and look it up. Actually, you need to download the GLUT library and just put it in a GL folder, right? So just copy that, and you can just paste it on a notepad. And I'll make these changes now. So I don't need I don't need Windows.h. So I have a Linux operating system, and let's just save it as that. I actually already have it modified. Okay, so I saved it on my desktop, and we can also open it in this code in Visual Studio Code, but I mean we already have it open here. So and there's just like the function to initialize the drivers, what is needed, the OpenGL drivers here, and so you can look at all the details on your own. This is basically what you need to run to make the HUD. Okay. So what we'll do is now we go here. I'm just gonna clear this window. We're gonna go to our desktop, which is the place where I copy pasted that Node C++ file. And as I mentioned, right, so I've modified the flag. I modified klangle so that it runs with the GLUT flags and GL flags. Yeah, so that's why I commented out this one, and I activated the first line, the line above. I mean, sorry. Okay. So after doing that, we ran klangle again with hot.cpp, and it is as easy as that. You see that there was only desktop standard and hot.cpp. Now if we go ls again, we'll see that there's a hot.k file has been created. So we open it, and we see a house that I don't really understand the background and everything. why they would like choose an orange color for background, but nonetheless, that's how it was drawn. Okay, so with that, I'd like to conclude the video. This just as I mentioned, just a simple setup to run OpenGL projects. And so if you've come this far, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.